Hey everyone. Sorry I'm on a little late tonight. I had a little problem actually getting a connection here tonight. I don't know what's going on, whether the storm has anything to do with it, although we're not affected with it up here. It was a beautiful day here on Long Island in New York, about 75 degrees, about 2 to 3 mile an hour breeze, a few light clouds in the sky. It was a bit overcast this morning, but the sun broke out this afternoon, and it's an absolutely gorgeous day here. I actually tried to start broadcasting to you from my driveway and couldn't get a signal. So I had to come back inside the house. I'm hoping I'll be able to take you outside in a minute or two here. We'll give it a shot. In the meantime, I just want to state that I was looking over my stats. I have now over 100 subscribers. Thank you very much, folks. I have also had over 11,000 minutes of view time in the last 4 weeks between the four different episodes that I've put out to date. Barry, what's going on? Billy Boy, how are you? Yeah, Barry, do you need to restart or I need to restart? Billy, can you see me all right? Hey guys, welcome aboard. Hope you brought your questions for me today. It's Try to Stump Doug Day. Every day is Try to Stump Doug Day. But, sometimes you win, sometimes I do. That's what life is all about. Anyway, how's everybody tonight? I hope everybody's well. You got an echo, Barry? Is that any better? Let me see. I'm going to reposition the phone and the camera. You know what? Let me get it set up on a tripod here. Give me just a second, guys. Billy, you just got home from Chattanooga? How many miles is that, Bill? It looks like sounds like it could be quite a drive. Okay, we've almost got this. There we go, guys. That should be better. I hope that's better. All right. Anyway, welcome to another episode of Garage Talk with Doug. This is episode number 5, and what will hope to be a very long continuing series of episodes. The whole purpose of my channel is to answer your automotive maintenance and repair questions, try and give you some insight into what may be wrong with your vehicle, and maybe help save you a few dollars along the way. I do want to say a little disclaimer. Any and all information that's furnished on my channel is just that. It's information only. Any diagnosis must be performed by a certified professional auto technician, and that's done by performing diagnostic tests and road testing the vehicle, and then presenting the customer with a service plan. Billy Boy, yes, I saw that you just got home from Chattanooga. Let me check on the other chat here. Okay, everybody sees me and hears me good. It's restarted okay now. Thank you. 140 miles. Yeah, not too bad. What does it take you? About 2.5 hours or so? 3 hours maybe? Rental properties, huh? Those are always fun to deal with. Not. Sailing Up One says, I like the new hours. Good, I hope so. I'm going to see what kind of response I get at this time. I think this is better for a lot of viewers that are out in the Midwest and West Coast, as opposed to the East Coast times. To be honest with you, it's a little better for me. It lets the old man get a nap in the afternoon before I get up and start the live chat. I'm feeling pretty good. For those of you who don't know, may not know my history, one of the reasons I do this is I'm retired and disabled. I'm a dialysis patient for 8 years now. I've recently been through a lot of surgeries in the last couple of years, the last one ending with a triple bypass heart surgery. And I'm doing this to try and give something back. I'm limited as to what I can do physically anymore, but I certainly can share my knowledge and my expertise. And I had a good friend of mine talk me into starting this channel, and I hope that it takes off and succeeds. With your help, it should, because I feel like I'm doing very well, considering that I've only been on for about 30 days now, and I've had as many views and as many subscribers as I've had, and I thank you all for that. I ask you to continue to pass the word along and let other people know about this channel. And with that, let's see whether you have some questions for me. Yeah, Billy, I figured about a 70-mile-an-hour speed limit, but yeah, it's like New York. Speed limit up here is 55. Everybody's doing 70, 75, 80. You know, of course, you get caught doing over 75, and the police are going to, give you a little extra lighting on the back of your car. Hey, taking to catch a fresh breeze, you always bring me some good questions. Let's see what you have to say. I've got no time this afternoon. I'm sorry. Hope you are well, and today's live stream is a good one. Well, thank you very much, Tacking to Catch a Fresh Breeze. I appreciate that. Hope you can, watch it later on when you get a chance. And hopefully you tune in next Saturday at 5 p.m., folks. 5 p.m. is the new time. All right. Shilling Upwinds, I made Carl's day today. Yeah, I'm glad he's on his way. He's been chomping at the bit to get underway now for a while. And, I'm glad to see that he's finally set sail or motor sailing, whatever he's doing there. I believe he's anchored on the backside of Governor's Island, which is where the Statue of Liberty is in New York Harbor. And I believe he was going to hang out there for the evening. So check out his, live chat at 7 p.m. on Sailing with Grandpa. All right, Carl, there's a plug for you, buddy. Let's see what else we've got here. Sailing Upwinds. Come on, guys. Questions. Come on, pick the old man's brain. Anything. Otherwise, I'm going to start talking, and you don't want me to do that. All right, you asked for it. I had an interesting question come to me this week. It had not by a viewer, but he's a viewer. He's also a friend. One of my husband's of a dialysis patient that I know, and he had an interesting question for me. He says, Doug, I have a slightly older car. I've been using regular conventional motor oils in it. He says, can I switch over to a synthetic motor oil, and would it harm the engine? Of course, my standard question is, well, how many miles are on the engine, and how old is it? It wasn't that old. It didn't have that many miles on it, under 100,000. And I said, sure, you can switch over to a synthetic. Synthetics are compatible now with regular motor oils, not like they used to be in years past. And you can even mix the two together, and it's not going to hurt anything. In fact, what is a semi-synthetic oil? Well, it's a combination of conventional motor oil and synthetic oils. So there's your mix. It's just done by the manufacturer rather than you doing it in your crankcase. Alrighty. Let's see. What are the questions? Do I know if they made the Chevelle SS in 1975? That's a very good question. I'm not sure. I believe they did in limited production. Of course, it was nothing like the earlier Chevelles from the late 60s, early 70s. Remember by 75, the EPA had kicked in all unleaded fuels. All cars had to use unleaded gasoline. The EPA was getting all over the auto manufacturers about emissions, so they detuned these motors to make them run more efficiently. But in doing so, the horsepower dropped by like half by 75. It was pretty poor for performance vehicles out there. Also, in those years, we were looking for smaller cars. Gas prices had jumped through the roof. It went from about 25 cents a gallon to over $1 a gallon for gasoline overnight, literally. And, people just couldn't afford the bigger gas guzzlers, so they were looking for more economical vehicles. Let's see, next question. Okay, Sailing Upwind says, I've done a little research and haven't been able to locate one. Yeah, those years weren't good years for metal either, and they tended to rot out. And, if you do find one, it's probably a resto. By resto, I mean a restoration. And, that's just the way it is. I've got to really do my research. I'm not sure whether 74 or 75 was the last year for the SS. I could check into it and get back to you on that, or you can go on the internet yourself and do a Google search and see what you come up with. Do a Google search on the Chevelle SS and see what the last year was of manufacture. Hope that helps. Where are all my questions today? Yeah, well, in changing times, I imagined that this would happen. Some of my viewership did drop off. I've only got 6 views as of right now. 2 thumbs up. Thank you for the thumbs up, guys. 5 views now. All right. Going back, let's talk a bit more about this motor oil issue. Yes, you can mix motor oils now. Yes, you can use synthetic motor oil in your older vehicles. It really doesn't matter the mileage anymore. Years ago, there used to be, old wives' tales that by putting synthetic motor oil in your car, it's a thinner oil, and if you have bad seals, that you're going to end up with oil leaks and spots in your driveway and all that. Not the case, folks. I mean, if you have a bad seal, you have a bad seal. You're going to wind up with an oil leak anyway. All right, it doesn't make any difference whether it's synthetic motor oil or regular motor oil. It makes no difference at all. The most important thing with motor oils, folks, number one is that you're using the correct SAE grade. SAE simply stands for Society of Automotive Engineers, and they're the guys that rate the thickness of the motor oil, or what we term viscosity of the motor oil, such as 5W30, 10W30, 10W40, 20W50. Generally, the higher the number, the thicker the oil. The lower the number, the thinner the oil. That's the way that works. Okay. The W in the middle simply means that the oil is a winter grade motor oil. In other words, it will have a good flow rate at cold temperatures. The oil will still flow when the weather hits 30 below with a 5W30 motor oil. All right. The 5 means that the oil flows thin during colder weather, and yet has the same viscosity weight of a 30 weight oil when the engine is at full operating temperature. All right, hopefully I have some more questions coming in. All right. Okay, Billy Boy says, in the days back, we switched to synthetic oils when valve seals started leaking to hide the smoke. Nowadays, I have used synthetics in my Jennies. Yeah, good idea to use them in the generators. I mean, first off, you're dealing with an engine that's just standalone, basically. It's just hooked up to a generator unit. Usually a diesel engine. Very easy to service when they're, strapped down to the floor like that instead of inside a chassis. I know that they're still mounted on frames. You got to work around those, but in general, you guys have it a lot easier getting at stuff than the truck and automotive mechanics out there. We've got to work around the body and the chassis of the vehicle. Yeah, let's see. Sealing Upwind says, my new truck says change oil every 7,000 miles. Do you think I should stay at a 3,000 mile cycle? You can't change oil too frequently. The more often you change the oil, the cleaner the oil is going to be, and, the engine is going to like that. Personally, no, you don't have to change oil as frequently as every 3,000 miles anymore, especially if you're using semi-synthetics as the synthetic motor oils. With the semi-synthetic motor oil, I'm going to recommend a maintenance interval of about every 5,000 miles or every 6 months, roughly 5 months. It depends on the mileage that you drive. You folks out west, you tend to drive longer distances at higher rates of speed. Highway mileage, what we refer to. And that's not as hard as a car on a vehicle as driving in city stop-and-go traffic. If you're driving on dirt roads, dustier conditions, some of you folks out in the Midwest and West, don't have paved roads, you want to change it a little bit more frequently because of the dust in the environment. It does tend to, contaminate the motor oil, clog up air filters, things like that. So you need to do your maintenance a little bit more often. But in general, I'd say about every 5,000 miles for semi-synthetic oils. You can go as long as 7,000 miles for full synthetics. There are extra long life oils out there on the market that are put out that are full synthetic oils, and some of the manufacturers say you can go 12,000 miles between oil changes. I don't like that notion. Oil still picks up contaminants from inside the engine. All right, that means carbon, unspent fuel. It dilutes it down, and that keeps the oil from lubricating as well as it should. So in general, the more often you change the oil, the better for your engine. Okay, again, you can't change motor oil too frequently. Okay, but in general, you can go, like I said, 5,000 miles on synthetic, semi-synthetic oils. Full synthetics, you can go 7,000 miles. Those are my intervals that I would recommend. Okay, And so it's my opinion, and like opinions, everybody has you know what. Hey, Holshot, how are you? Billy Boy, the oil test doesn't show any difference in lifespan. Interesting, Billy. But I will say this: synthetic motor oil, the atomic structure is a little smaller than conventional motor oils. So on engines that have very, very tight tolerances, we're talking thousandths of an inch between bearings and camshafts and crankshafts and so forth. A thinner oil is going to flow into those spaces better. It's going to lubricate better. So, that's my thoughts on it. All right, any other questions? Okay, if no other questions right now, let's talk a little bit about API ratings on motor oil. That's totally different than SAE. All right, API ratings, first off, let's define what API stands for. API stands for the American Petroleum Institute, and they rate all motor oil for internal combustion engines that's used in internal combustion engines in good old US of A. All right. Those designations are given in letters. S for service, D for diesel, okay, for the first letter. And then the second letter designates the quality of the oil and the specifics. Those letters can be G, H, L. I don't know whether we're up to M yet or not, but we're getting there. They use the alphabet so they could change it 26 times without having to come up with a new system. Okay, that was the whole purpose for that. But what that does is it designates the service category for the oil. And all of your auto manufacturers recommend a certain API designated oil for their engines. It's very, very important that you adhere to those designations and that you use the proper motor oil in your engine if you expect to get a good lifespan out of it. There's no reason doing proper oil changes in this day and age. Out of a gasoline engine, you should be able to get well over 200, 300,000 miles and more out of an engine if it's been cared for, kept tuned up, filters changed, oil changed, and so forth. Okay, no reason at all you can't get 300,000 miles and more. Diesel engines, 500,000 to 1,000,000 miles or better before that engine needs to be rebuilt. Okay, that's a general rule of thumb. Most diesel engines anyway. I'm talking about your larger, like your 7.3 liter Duramax, not the 6.2s. The 6.2s were junk compared to Duramax motors, but your Cummins motors, your Detroits, your Cats. Yeah, no reason you can't get 1,000,000 miles out of those diesels. All right, but you must use the proper API designation of motor oil. Very, very important. Yeah, Billy, I agree. Billy says oil is too cheap not to change. We tell the studios 200 hours, period. Yeah, good recommendation for service interval, Billy. It sounds very reasonable to me. 200 hours is a good spot. Okay, sealing up ones. I got a Ford Escape. Rust is an issue on fenders, I guess is what you're trying to say. And it came up genders. I hope you don't have rust on your genders. What's the deal with Ford? It's rust problems. Poor metal prep and bad metal. That's, all the auto manufacturers are trying to buy, sheet metal for as cheap as they can. In fact, they're substituting sheet metal now with plastics because plastic don't rust. However, plastic does shatter. All right. That's the problem there, sealing up winds. Just poor quality metal, poor prep work on the paint. The better we prep and the better we anodize and all that, the better we're going to prevent rust. On these cars, water is getting in there between the paint layers and the metal, and it's causing these vehicles to rust out. It's that simple. We've had that problem for years. Also, if you live in the Northeast like I do, or out in the Midwest where we get snows and they salt the hell out of the roads, that salt is highly corrosive to metal. And if it gets in there, it's going to cause rust in a matter of literally minutes. Minutes. All right? That's why it's so important that we keep our cars washed and clean during the wintertime, especially in the North and Midwest. Get that caustic salt out from under the car. Very important you get undercarriage washes. Yeah, the car is only 6 years old. Yeah, it's old enough. Chevys are prone to front fenders. I assume you're talking about rust because of the drain that leads down to the kick panel. Yeah, the water gets trapped between the inner fender and the outer fender, and that and also leaves and crap gets in there. It stays moist and wet, and that also promotes rust. Good idea to clean that out from time to time if you want to prolong the life of the sheet metal on the car. Okay, I'm caught up on the chat. Wow, guys. Wow. And I've been on for, I guess about 20 minutes. We did get a late start. Keep the questions and comments coming in, guys. That's what this channel is all about. We're here to BS and talk cars and garage stuff and, tools and that. And, pick my brains. I've got over 35 years experience as an ASE Master Certified Auto Technician. Not to blow my own horn, I've taught in the schools. I'm licensed by the New York State Department of Education as a teacher of automotive maintenance and repair. Let's just kick it and, talk about shop. It's one of my favorite things to do. Okay, Chevys are prone to front fender. Yes, we read that. Yeah, Billy Boy, plus the ants like it. Billy, you down south, aren't you? Georgia, Florida, where you at, Billy? Okay, I imagine you're down south where the ants are a problem. Up here, we get yellow jackets, especially if you leave the car sitting outside for a prolonged period of time. All right, I have a 2001 Chevy Sierra, says Todd Mills. Bad rust problems. Have already had brake lines replaced because they rusted out. Yeah, your geography plays a lot in that, Todd. And, if you're having rust issues, you live out in the Midwest. I know I lived in Ohio for about 7 years. Rust was a huge issue out there because they salt the hell out of the roads. They use the salt they mine from under Lake Erie, which is very, very caustic stuff. We used to replace brake lines out there regularly. We used to have ventilated floorboards. In other words, you lifted up the mat, you got a nice breeze through the floorboard, and you could look down and see the road. Interesting stuff. Yeah, it's just the way it is out there, and the only thing you can do is keep the vehicle washed and as dry as you possibly can. Very difficult to do in that kind of climate. It's constantly raining, it's constantly snowy, it's constantly road salt, snow, slush, and you deal with it. Mud too. I mean, what Ohio boy doesn't like to take his four-wheel drive mudding? You got to keep it clean. It's fine to go mudding, but damn it, you get home, break out the hose and the brushes and hose it down, and then use a chamois to dry it off. Alrighty, let's see what else have we got. Okay, Todd says currently he's leaking a small amount of gasoline from a corner of the gas tank. Would JB Weld be? Yes, JB Weld would be a very good temporary patch. There are other sealers that you can use to seal the tank up, but that involves having to remove the tank, clean it, and then apply the sealers to it. I've had very good luck in fixing, old antique tanks that couldn't be replaced that were full of pinholes. Using the chemical treatments, but it requires a lot of work. The tank has to be dropped, it has to be flushed, it has to be cleaned, and then it gets treated, and it's a process, and it takes time and a lot of labor. The results, though, well worth it, well worth the effort. Would I recommend the rust preventers that get sprayed onto the undercarriage? Well, that's a two-part answer to that. Yes and no. Yes, providing that when they're applied, the undercarriage is clean, it's dry. I mean, dry as a bone. Because any moisture that gets locked up in there is going to cause the vehicle to rust, and that rust is going to get trapped then between the metal of the car and the rust proofing that you're applying. So it defeats the purpose. Okay, so it's very, very important that if you do get your car undercoated and have these spray-ons applied, that they're applied by people that know what they're doing, that they give you a guarantee behind it. They should give you at least a 3 to 5 year warranty on rust once the vehicle is treated. All right. Hopefully longer. Some of the good ones will offer you a limited lifetime warranty. Okay. Look at what the warranty covers. Does it cover damage, or does it just cover the reapplication process of having, the vehicle resprayed? That's a very good question. I'm glad you brought it up. Very important for us folks that live in the snow belts. Uh, is we do what we can to try and save our cars and keep them running for as long as we can. At least I do. I like to take a car, buy it, and then literally drive it into the ground. I mean, I repair it along the way as needed, but when the repairs become too much, you've got to look at the effectiveness of the money you're throwing into the vehicle. Do I put that money into the vehicle knowing what I have, or do I put it into something else? You know, you got to learn when to cut your losses. It's just a vehicle, folks. Don't get emotionally attached. They come and go. Billy Boy, what are your thoughts on aftermarket air cleaners? There's some good ones out there, Billy. There's some bad ones. I mean, K&N has been around for a long, long time. They're known to, have very efficient air cleaners that improve the amount of air going into the engine. And, the more air that we get in, the more power the engine can make. In fact, K&N will, tell you can usually pick up anywhere between 3 and 5 horsepower just by changing to one of their filters. Uh, they can't make those claims unless they can back them up. So, good for K&N. Cold air intakes are a whole nother issue. Again, there are good ones, there are bad ones. Do your research. Go online, talk to what people have used, what they put on their cars, what kind of performance improvements they've had with it. If they noticed, is there a noticeable difference in the performance? These are all good questions to ask, and there's lots of information online besides me to help you make that decision on your own. Okay. I happen to like K&N products. I think that they make a good product. I've used them in my own automobiles, in the past. And what I like about K&N filters is that they're reusable. You buy the cleaning and recharge kits, and you just keep cleaning it and re-oiling it, and you're good to go. And that in the long run saves you some money down the road, because on average, an air filter these days, for a decent brand name filter, is going to cost you about 14, $15 in the auto parts stores. You can buy a K&N filter for $50. It's paid for itself by the third time you've cleaned it. So that's something to think about. Let's see. Lots of people don't understand about mass airflow sensors. Okay, I'm glad you brought up mass airflow sensors. You're right, a lot of people don't understand them. Hence the oils they put on the filters, such as K&N. Yeah, you don't want to over oil these reusable filters. It will destroy your mass airflow sensor. Okay, mass airflow sensors are there to measure the amount of air going into the engine. It then sends that signal to the car's onboard computer. The car's onboard computer says, okay, we have this much air coming in. In order to achieve the proper stoichiometric ratio, here I am using those big words. Simply what that means, guys, is the proper air-fuel ratio of gas to air, all right, which is about 14 to 1. Actually, 13.7 to 1 is what we shoot for, all right, but say 14 to 1, all right. That means 14 parts air for every part of gasoline, okay. That's the stoichiometric ratio. In any case, like I said, the mass airflow sensor is taking that reading as to how much air is going in, and it's telling the computer, hey, we've got this much air coming in. The computer is sending a signal back to the throttle body, and the throttle body is saying, hey, we've got to feed this much air through our injectors now, so we've got to fire the injectors for this long based upon the throttle plate position, because the throttle plate controls how much air is coming in, so we've got to combine that and feed the proper amount of fuel. And this is what the computer is telling the fuel injectors to do. All right, how many milliseconds do we want to keep those injectors open for? How long do we want them to spray? Okay, at what pressure, hopefully the pressure stays the same throughout the fuel system. All of the vehicles today are, fuel injected, electronic fuel injection. Therefore, they have electric fuel pumps, constant fuel pressure. All right. And, we want to make sure everything is working. The computer is looking at all these parameters, and it's adjusting accordingly. Okay. If you over oil your reusable filters and that oil gets sucked up into your mass airflow sensor, you're going to be replacing mass airflow sensors. and they can get expensive. It depends upon the vehicle. They can go anywhere from a GM, 30, $40 at the auto parts store. Some of your more expensive ones can be a few $100s. You start getting into the imports and stuff like that, they can be a few $1,000s. So, keep that in mind. Don't over oil your filters, and make sure that you've let the filter sit after you've oiled it for, I like to let it sit for about a day before I reinstall it. So, sometimes it pays then to have two filters. The one you use in the car and the one you have on a shelf as a backup, you know. So, it's a thought. Yes, Sailmaster, I watched the Turbo Encabulator video. It was very funny, and I do recommend to you that if you do get a chance to take a look at it, folks, it was a spoof by the automotive engineers back in the mid 70s, where they were talking about this fantastic invention that they'd come up with called the Turbo Encapsulator. It was supposed to revolutionize transportation as we know it today. And it was all a spoof. In fact, Time magazine even wrote up an article about how the Turbo Encapsulator was going to change society and transportation as we knew it. And it was all a spoof. Very funny. Very, very funny stuff. You get a chance, Google it, watch it. It's really good stuff. In fact, the one I watched two of them, but I like the history of the Turbo Encapsulator. That was a very good one. Like Z-Bart, they were around for years and then gone. Yeah, Z-Bart was one of the ones that used to do their cars. Rusty Jones is another one I remember. Yeah, okay, I'm just reading through what you have to say here, Brett. Yeah, they were around for years. We're talking about Z-Bart and then gone. My buddy had his Jeep done by them. It rusted out bad. I bought it from them years later. They had a lifetime warranty. Yeah, not that that helped you since they went out of business. They had a lifetime warranty and they went out of business. Yeah. Yeah, remember when you get your car painted by Earl Scheib for $99.95? We paint any car. Yeah, they just don't mask it off for you. So they painted everything. Okay, sailing upwinds. My local oil change location is pushing a coolant flush. How important is that? I recommend doing a coolant flush every 2 to 3 years. Okay, no reason to do it any more frequently than that unless you have overheating issues. Then you want to do it more often. I also at that time recommend that you change out the thermostat every 2 to 3 years. All right, just as preventive maintenance. You don't want to wait until the thermostat goes bad and gets stuck in a closed position and your car overheats to change it. You're going to find yourself on the back of a tow truck. All right, so don't do that. Regular maintenance, folks, is what I'm all about here. It's keeping your car running as long as you can without major repair issues. And maintenance is a key factor in doing that. So keep that in mind. You definitely want to keep performing your maintenance, and regular cooling flushes is part of that. In fact, you want to flush all the fluids from time to time. Your power steering, your transmission fluid, your brake fluid, all of those. And those are things that we'll talk about in future episodes. And as you bring it up, I don't want to divulge all my secrets in one show. So, hey, Trav, glad you finally made it. Glad to see you come aboard. Trav is a viewer from Sailing with Grandpa, and a good friend from that channel. So welcome aboard. So is Billy Boy. So is Sailmaster. Why do the headlight covers nowadays yellow? It's because they're made out of plastic instead of glass. How's that for a simple answer? Yes, they can be cleaned. In fact, how's this? I'm going to tell you Doug's special trick for cleaning your headlights, okay, your plastic headlight lenses, with stuff that you have in your bathroom right now. You don't have to go to the auto parts store. You don't have to go out and buy anything. You've got this stuff right in your bathroom right now, I'll bet you. Okay? There are two things you can use. Number one, you have a can of Deep Woods off. If you have a can of Deep Woods off, take the Deep Woods off and take a cotton sock. Spray the Deep Woods off on a cotton sock, and then take that and wipe your lenses with that. Be careful not to get any on the paint or the chrome. The chrome you can wipe off, but paint, you're going to have to clean it. All right? So you might want to take some masking tape and just put it around, on the painted areas around your lens first, just to keep it from getting on the paint. But take that deep woods off on a cotton sock, rub in a circular motion until you start seeing the lens get clear. It'll stay that way for a few months. Okay, you'll be good before you have to reapply the treatment. Another way of cleaning them, if you have some whitening toothpaste in your bathroom, take a dab of it on a cleaning cloth, preferably one of these microfiber cloths. And when you do, again, rub in a circular motion. Not only will it polish the plastic lens, but it will get rid of the yellow. Hope that helps. Yeah, Sailmaster, I'm glad you did send it. Yeah, it was really funny, the turbo encabulator bit. Like I said, folks, if you get a chance to Google that, watch the video, especially the history of the turbo encabulator, it'll give you a lot of good information as to what that spoof was all about. I pH test my coolant once a year, but it's not normal. I guess it's not normal. Yeah, it's a good way of testing your coolant is to pH test it, and then check and see what kind of contaminants you have in it. Coolant will build up acids in it over time. In fact, it will even conduct electricity. You can use a digital voltometer to test your coolant. Didn't know whether you knew that one or not, but yes, you can use a digital voltometer to test your coolant. Okay? Coolant that's contaminated will conduct a low voltage electrical charge. Isn't that interesting? Okay, so keep that in mind. But in general, yeah, I recommend changing your coolant, having it flushed every 2 to 3 years. Okay, make sure that you're using a 50-50 mix. 50-50 mix is what you need in your vehicle, for maximum protection. Okay, and folks, that goes for you in warm climates too. Don't run just water in your radiator. Okay, I know some of you do. But not a good idea because the water doesn't have any chemicals in it to help counter the effects of the acid, and you're going to go through cooling system components such as your radiator, such as your geez, I'm at a loss right now. I'm having a senior moment, folks. It happens. But in any case, if you want to preserve the parts of your cooling system, keep them from corroding, change your antifreeze out every 2 to 3 years. Have it flushed, have fresh antifreeze put in. Okay. Yeah, Billy Boy toothpaste. Okay. Whitening toothpaste especially works very well for polishing up your plastic headlight lenses. Okay. What do you want me to spell, Carolyn? Get back to me, Carolyn. I'll be happy to if I can. My spelling isn't the greatest, but I try. All right, Sailing Upwinds. I noticed the manufacturer's specs are always different from the local oil change locations as for routine maintenance. It seems to be all about money. Okay, let me see. Let me just read that through and then let it sink in. I noticed that the manufacturer's specs are always different from the local oil change locations. As for routine maintenance, it seems to be all about money. Yeah, the local places are going to tell you change your oil every 3,000. Now, let's face it, guys, they're in business. What are they in business for? They're in business to sell you an oil change. And if they're not selling you an oil change, they're not staying in business. Okay? But yes, with the advent of the new semi-synthetics and synthetic oils, you can go longer than 3,000 miles between oil changes. Again, my recommendation, semi-synthetic 5,000 miles. Full synthetic oils every 7,000 miles is good. Okay? You're changing it that often, you'll be in good shape. Alrighty. What should be the pH? The pH should be neutral, ideally. Okay, in fact, we want it a little on a base side. Okay, we don't want our pH levels to be acidic in our antifreeze. So we do want it to be more toward the base side than toward the acid side. If we're getting acid in it, we want to change it out. Okay, hope that answers that questions. Yeah, Billy Boy 8.75 if you really want to know. Thank you, Billy. Doug, if you need a hand setting up that image for your channel and stuff, let me know. I'll send you my number. Yeah, it would be great. I would appreciate that. Hopefully, when you go on my page now, you'll have a description. I don't have all of my links set up yet. In fact, I don't believe I put up a link for PayPal, but I do have the address up there. So if I'm able to help any of you out and save you a few bucks, maybe you can throw a buck or two my way. It certainly would be appreciated. As I said, I am disabled. I'm collecting disability after working from the time I was 16 years old. That is, working on the books from the time I was 16 years old. I was actually working long before that. Good old dad would get me out there working with him. And, I did that from a very young age. Uh, had a Sicilian for a father. So, you know what that might or may not be like. Okay, the eldest son is always, always next to the old man and doing what he's doing. Okay, I guess that's why I became an automotive technician. My father was an automotive mechanic back in the day. The cleaner for the yellow lights besides the toothpaste. Yeah, Carolyn, the cleaner for the yellow lights besides the toothpaste is Deep Woods Off. Okay, spray some Deep Woods Off into a cotton sock and apply it to your headlights. You might want to tape off with masking tape around the painted areas around the headlights first, and that will clean up the yellow on your headlights. It'll get those headlights to appear clear again. All right, get you some light back on the road. Much, much cheaper than replacing the lenses, okay? If it's really, really bad and you need a professional kit, a very good one is the Meguiar's Headlight Restoration Kit, the heavy-duty kit. They supply sanding pads and buffing pads and, your compound and your sealer and all that, and that stuff works pretty well. Just keep in mind that, they will continue to yellow. It's not a permanent fix. You do have to continually reapply this stuff, okay? But, you can do it with a can of Deep Woods Off or some ultra bright toothpaste. Any kind of whitening toothpaste works better than regular toothpaste, but they all work. Hey, Biker, what's going on, buddy? Hope you're well tonight. Yeah, Billy Boy, yeah, you can give me a call after the chat, I'm on Messenger or whatever, on Facebook. You can find my Facebook page under my name, so, feel free to drop a line there. If you go to my Facebook page, also, I put up a lot of links to car pages and stuff like that you might find interesting. I also have some photographs that I've taken of some of the quarter milers down in Englishtown a few years ago. I was down there with my digital camera and got some pretty good photos of, the guys in the NHRA. Yeah, hey, Carl. How are you, buddy? You setting anchor now? Good. I guess you're in back of Governor's Island there, looking up Lady Liberty's skirt, you dirty old dog. Okay, sailing upwinds makes a good point. It seems like a lot of old shops used to turn drums and rotors as well, and now they just seem to replace everything. I hate changing brake pads. That was probably, when I worked in the shop, a good 70% of the work I did was brake work. It's probably the most common repair that we get in the auto repair shops. And yes, back in those days, we used to measure out the brake drums and the brake rotors to see whether they were within manufacturer's thickness specifications or diameter, as given the brake drums, that they weren't outside maximum diameter specs. And we used to refinish those on a brake lathe. All right, a lathe being an instrument used to cut metal. It would accept the brake drums and the brake rotors, and it had cutting bits on it. We used to be able to remove some of the surface from the brake rotors or from the inside of the brake drum. All right. As long as that we stayed within manufacturer's minimum thickness specifications, it was all right to do that and reinstall those parts back on the car, and it made for a beautiful brake job. All right. These days, though, because of the way manufacturers build cars, everything is made to minimum tolerances these days instead of maximum tolerances, the way the old cars used to be made back in my day. So as a result, we don't have the luxury necessarily of refinishing these brake drums and these brake rotors like we used to on the older vehicles. Okay, generally, once a brake rotor or brake drum is damaged on these new cars, it's garbage and it does need to be replaced with a new one. Also, because of the cost these days of brake rotors and brake drums, they've come way down in price. It's almost less expensive to replace the brake rotor or the brake drum than it is to take it into a machine shop and have it machined. Generally, it's going to cost you, I don't know, in my area, $20, $15, $20 a piece for rotors, usually about $10 a piece for drums. You can almost buy new ones for that. So, keep that in mind. It's a cost-effective issue. It's all about cost in this day and age, and it's more cost-effective sometimes just to replace them with new ones than it is to, risk turning them down and then be subject to customer overheating the brakes and ending up with, brake rotor warpage, which causes brake pedal pulsation and can also cause shimmy in the steering wheel. All right. Bill, you tried to share my link and you still can't. That's because you're not a mod, Bill. All right, only mods can share links, bud. I can't even put a link up, okay? I have to do it, offline. And I just now got my tablet working. I'm working on getting the computer working. Mark, how are you? Let me back up in the chat here. Just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. So, Sealing Upwinds, I hope that answers your question about brake drums and brake rotors these days. All right. As far as brake jobs go, there's a lot more to doing brakes than just slapping pads on and refinishing rotors or putting new rotors and drums on. The brake system has to be looked at as a system, as a whole. Everything from what's the condition of the brake fluid in the master cylinder? Is it dirty? Is it contaminated? Does it need to be changed out? Do the lines, the wheel cylinders, and calipers need to be flushed? Pardon me, let me get a sip of water here, folks. That's better. So, keep that in mind. Guys, there are 16 of you watching. There are 12 thumbs up. I thank you for that. Hopefully the other 4 will kick in and hit the thumbs up button. Folks, it doesn't cost anything to hit thumbs up. And I hope the information I'm passing along to you is educational and helps. What's my thought on fuel additives and cleansers? Do they really work? Well, first off, you have fuel additives and cleansers in every gallon of gas you purchase. Especially if you're purchasing the name brand fuels. I'm sorry, guys. Alrighty. Yeah, especially if you're purchasing name brand fuels, you're getting fuel additives and cleansers in your fuels, so you don't necessarily need them. However, there is a good product out there that I will give my endorsement to. It's called Techron, and it's made by Chevron, and it's a fuel additive that goes in the gas tank, and it does a good job of cleaning the entire fuel system. We've used it in the trade. We like the stuff. I like the stuff. And that is something that I will recommend. Otherwise, stay away from the fuel additives. I don't think they do much for you. Same thing with the oil additives too, guys. All right, if you're buying a good quality motor oil, you're using synthetics, semi-synthetics, you don't need to add anything else to the oil. In fact, some of the manufacturers will recommend that you don't. Okay, so keep that in mind. How am I feeling? Oh, shut up. Feeling pretty good. I know I've been out and down the last couple of weeks, although I took a good nap today, which helped. I needed it. They took 4.5 kilos off of me at dialysis last night. And, I needed to, my body needed the rest. It's a lot of fluid to pull off in one sitting. They do that in 4 hours where they take off 4.5 kilos. It's about roughly, let's see, 2.205 pounds per kilo. You do the math. Okay, I'm not going to sit here and do it. Okay, my brain might explode. Now, the only thing that's bothering me right now is my sinuses. I suffer badly from allergies, and it's the middle of ragweed season up here. And I got this sinus drip that drives me insane. Other than that, I'm feeling pretty good. So I thank you for asking. Selling Uplands, good content, Doug. Well, you guys are the ones that are asking questions, and I'm just answering, your questions and trying to respond to your remarks. So, I thank you too for that. So, you guys help me along here. King of Chuck, what's happening, brother? Good to see you on. Hope this time is better for you. We may make adjustments to that as things go here. I want to see what kind of viewership I get, for today's episode since it's the new time. So far, there are 18 of you on. There's 16 thumbs up. Thank you so much, folks. You've been great to me in the month that I've been on. I have now over 100 subscribers, and I hope to keep that going. With your help, you'll pass the word along to friends, relatives, neighbors, acquaintances, whomever. Let them know, hey, there's this old guy on that does a talk about cars and anything, car and automotive related, and you can sit and BS with him for an hour on Saturday afternoons at 5 o'clock. Yes, 5 o'clock, not 2 o'clock anymore, folks. 5 p.m. is the new time. We did make an adjustment for my viewers out on the West Coast and out in the Midwest. For my viewers out in Alaska, they were telling me, 10 o'clock in the morning, their time was just a tad bit early for them on a Saturday. So, I can appreciate that, and we made some adjustments here to try and accommodate more viewers. Thank you again for those thumbs up, folks. There's 19 of you on, 18 thumbs up. Keep it coming. Thank you so much for that. Folks, it's coming up on an hour. I said I'd try and take you outside before as I started this today. I was going to try and do a show today from out my driveway, and I had issues with my internet connection, and I wasn't able to get a connection until I came back inside the house. So I'm going to try this and see whether it'll work. Bear with me. We're going to get up, and we are going to go outside. Oh, the old bones. Oh, I get stiff when I'm sitting for so long, so let's try this. All right, I'll get back to the chat here in a minute. Obviously, I'm looking to see where I'm walking and not paying attention to the chat right now, so just bear with me. I promise I won't show you Carl's behind. Those of you who watched that the other day, that was something that we definitely need to see. All right. I think we've been good as far as audio and video issues today. I think maybe I'm finally getting the hang of this. Alrighty. Let me get into my chair here. There we go. How's that, folks? That's better, isn't it? Okay, let's see what we have on the chat. Yeah, King of Chuck, I saw that. How are you, King of Chuck? Okay. Todd says, thanks for your response, Doug. I'll drop a little something to your PayPal. Chuck, anything you can is appreciated, even if it's just $1 or $2. It just shows me that you appreciate what I'm doing, and you're supporting the cause here, and that's what this is all about. I'm here to try and share my knowledge with you folks, and maybe save you $1 or $2 down the road. With your maintenance and repair issues. It's my way of giving back. King of Chuck, just dropped my truck off for a new set of tires. Yeah, Chuck, I'm going to be needing some soon on mine. I'm just looking over at my tires on my Merc here. And, this is probably the last season I'm going to get out of them. I got a feeling that when I go to throw the winter tires on, I'm going to need a new set of fronts as well. Here in the Northeast, we do need to run snow tires during the winter. And they don't let us run studded snow tires anymore because they said it tears up the road surface. A lot of asphalt up here. And God knows our roads are in bad enough shape without the studded snow tires. So no more studded snow tires here in New York. Yes, upvotes are delivered. Thank you, Chuck. That's 18 of you that are giving me the thumbs up of the 19 of you watching, so thank you very much for that. Any thoughts? Biker Coyote says, any thoughts on my Chevy pickup? Eats headlights once every other month. Biker Coyote, yes. Check your ground connections. It sounds to me like maybe you got a bad ground, and when it connects back up, you're getting a power surge, which may be causing the filament to blow. All right, so check your grounds, break out your digital voltometer, and check the grounds on the circuit. Make sure the grounds are good. Okay. Carl says his frame ran great all day. I'm glad to hear that, Carl. Real rough in the East River. Yeah, I would imagine it would be since you're kind of getting flushed out. Yeah, you were concerned with the filter clogging as the fuel is all shook up. I hope not, but at least you have a filter on there, so that's a good thing. Yeah, you hear my dogs barking away in the background. I think the wife just let him out in the backyard. So, you don't want to be on camera, do you, Claire? Nah, she doesn't. Selling upwinds, would you recommend replacing ball joints for the home mechanic, or is it the alignment shop? Oop. Okay, hang on a second. Is that better, Carl? I'm trying to read through the chat here, and just give me a minute. Yeah, selling upwinds, would you recommend replacing ball joints for the home mechanic, or is the alignment super critical? Alignment is super critical, yes. If you've not taken on a job like that before, I would recommend you leave it to the professionals. All right. You must have the vehicle realigned after replacing the ball joints. Okay, it's very, very important for the camber settings to be right if the vehicle is going to track straight and go down the road properly without, improper tire wear. Okay, it will severely affect the handling characteristics of the vehicle if that's not set up right. Signal's great, thank you. Yeah, I'm holding the camera higher. I hope that's better. Yeah, I would imagine you'd rather see up my nose than Carl's undercarriage. Hopefully Lily doesn't dive in while Carl's on camera anymore. Do I have a mod that can post a link to the PayPal? No, I don't as of right now, whole shot, but I will put those links up. If you want to go to my PayPal page, it's real simple. It's simply www.paypal.me/Douglas Imbergamo. That's DOUGLASIMBERGAMO. All right, I believe I have that posted on my under my description on my homepage, so you can check it out down below as well. Okay. Yeah, no mods as yet. His app will not let him set up mods for now. Yeah, I need a lot more subscribers, folks, and viewership before I can actually appoint mods. So, the more people you pass the word to and the more viewers I can get, the sooner I can assign mods and, I can get a little help with this. What I was going to start out to do here today, guys, is I was going to start out by showing you a picture of this. Okay, that is my baby, or was my baby anyway. I'm actually looking to sell her. She's a 2003 Victory Classic Cruiser. As you can see, she's in beautiful shape. In fact, shoot, I should have bought my key. Yeah, I do have my keys on me. I have my keys on me. I'll fire it up and let you hear her, because she is a beautiful piece of machinery. I've kept her in really nice shape, over the years. Okay, hope you can see that. Okay. Guys, what you're looking at is a 2003 Victory Classic Cruiser. Okay, it's a 1507cc machine. It weighs about 800 pounds. Quite a heavy bike. It's not a bike for beginners by any way, shape, or form. It's been my machine now for a few years. It is in mint condition. I think you can see that. There isn't a speck of oil on it anywhere. It does need to be wiped down and waxed. It has been sitting in the garage for a while. But when it sits, it's on a trickle charger. As you can see, it's got new tires on it, new brakes. I put new throttle cables on it. It's got, the teardrop mirrors, and, it's got the Arlen Ness ISO grips on it. And, on the other side, on the throttle side, it's got a throttle lock on it, so you can cruise, by locking the throttle down. It's just a real nice machine. If you know anybody that's looking for a bike and, might be interested in something like this, put them in touch with me. I think I'm selling it for a reasonable amount. I'm asking $4,900 for it. Of course, everything's negotiable to some extent, but it's worth every bit of it. I just can't ride anymore, guys. My two knee surgeries and my hip surgery don't allow me to get on and ride a bike this heavy anymore. If anything, I'm going to need to downsize to a much lighter, more nimble bike if I want to continue to ride. So this one's going up for sale. Okay, just thought you might be interested. By the way, only about 20,000 miles on here. In fact, I'll go over and fire it up and you can have a listen. Okay, so just give me a second here. All right. Okay, I'm back. Hope you enjoyed that. Let me just check the chat real fast here. Carl? All right, the only one that's being inappropriate right now is you. Let's chill out, okay? I'm not blocking anybody. Oh, that's not you posting. I'm sorry. Okay, you're out of here. Carl broke my butt. Okay, Carl Brook was just removed because it's not evidently the real Carl Brook. At least that's what I was just told. If I'm wrong, Carl, I apologize, but yeah, I deleted him. I don't have time. Let me back up in the chat here. Unfortunately, I got hammered here by these trolls. Oh man, did I get hammered. Folks, I apologize. This is just totally uncalled for. Oh great, now I'm buffering. Like I said, this is the problem with me coming outside, folks. I don't know why I have such a crappy connection.